for joining us at our vlog. I'm Holly Root. I'm a literary agent at Waxman Agency in New York.
And I'm Molly O'Neill. I'm an associate editor at Catherine Teagan Books, an imprint of HarperCollins Children's Books.
And I'm Martha Mihalick. I'm the associate editor at Green Willow Books, which is also part of HarperCollins.
And today we're going to clear up some myths and misconceptions about the publishing process.
Basically, we're myth busting here, kids.
I have nothing to add to that.
But she brought cookies.
Yes, cookies.
I brought those.
Sweet. All right, so question number one, or statement number one, as the case may be. Your submission should be memorable.
True.
False.
Sorta true.
Your submission should be memorable because it's awesome, not because it's pink.
Or scented.
Or filled with glittery confetti nonsense. That's not what we're going for.
No, especially because if it spills all over the floor, we have to clean it up instead of reading your submission. So keep that in mind.
But more importantly, what makes a submission memorable is a great story, not anything you can do to accessorize it. We're reading for the story that we fall in love with.
So you want to stand out because you're awesome, not because your package is awesome.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh, that's me.
All right. Number two.
This vlog is rated PG.
Number two. Do everything you can to get an in with the publisher. It will give you an advantage.
False.
It's false because you want to have a genuine connection. That can help you out in that when your submission comes across our desk, we can say, oh, that person's lovely. I met her at a conference. What a sweetheart. But you can be the most lovely person in the world, and if your submission isn't good enough, it's just not going to make the difference.
And people with no connections whatsoever, who don't even go to conferences, who maybe don't even live anywhere near a book publisher, they get published too, all the time. So connections are just one element of the possible equation.
And you don't ever want to be the person who the editor or agent remembers because you've approached them with your manuscript in the bathroom, for instance. You don't want to be the bathroom author.
No.
Keep that in mind.
No, don't be the bathroom.
Words to live by. Number three. I need someone to tell me if I should keep writing or just quit.
I think the really important thing to remember about this is that when you're submitting a manuscript, whether it's to an editor or to an agent, you shouldn't be looking for validation. You're looking for our professional reaction about whether or not we think the book can be published. But validation is something else, and that has to come from you and your own influences.
Okay, number five. You need to hire an illustrator before you send in your PB.
False.
Number six. My favorite picture book has at least 15,000 words. Mine can too.
Pretty much false. The average picture book text these days is under 1,000 words. I would say most are under 500. You just can't get away with the really, really long ones anymore. They come across old-fashioned and they just don't hold kids' attention.
And part of it is because picture book design has changed a lot over the years, and so art and text are able to play together in a different way than they once did when design programs were a lot less sophisticated. And because of that, less text is needed.
And that's an important thing to remember, whether you're writing picture books or middle grade or young adult, that you have to stay current on what's working and selling right now. So if all you're reading is the stuff you remember from when you were a kid, you're not going to be up on what's new and exciting in the industry.
All right, number seven. The age of my character determines whether it's middle grade or YA.
True.
Sort of true. That's sort of your first jumping off point, your first clue as to what age your book would be for.
And sometimes you write a whole draft thinking your character is one age, and then once you sort of step back and look at it, you realize that actually maybe your character's been acting more like a different age, and so it's something you'd go back and address in a revision. So don't feel like you're ever locked into a genre just because of how you started writing.
And really, the age of a novel as a whole, whether it's middle grade, young adult, or adult, has a lot to do with the sensibility of the entire narrative voice, not necessarily the character's age. The Lovely Bones, for instance, is clearly an adult book, not a YA book, though the character is young. And your editor or agent, I mean, we've all encountered things where the character's age is 12, but she sounds 16, and you just adjust one of the two.
Number 8. Kids are the best lie detectors in the business.
True. So very, very true. You can't start out by wanting to teach kids something or moralize or preach against something. You won't have readers because kids will walk away from a story like that. They're great lie detectors. They want a story ahead of a lesson. And you know what? As readers, most of us do too. That's not just kids. That's anyone as a reader. So if there are themes that you want to include in your book, that's great, but they need to be woven in carefully. They can't all be out on the surface.
Number 9. I started writing because there are no good books out there.
This one we're not going to give you true, false, or sort of. We're just going to tell you that that's rude and you haven't read enough. Because if you haven't found something that you like and think is good, then you simply have not read enough books. It may be that what you're naturally drawn to is not what is currently topping the bestseller list, and that's okay. But I believe, and you guys can disagree or not, that it's never been a more exciting time to be reading young adult fiction. There's just so many talented writers working, and so if you haven't found something you like, you just haven't read enough.
Number 10. You need a good title for your manuscript before you submit.
Well, that's true.
Sort of true. You need a good title before you submit because it will help your project catch the eye of an editor and an agent. However,
it will often change. And that's due to a whole variety of reasons. But there's nothing worse than getting a manuscript that just comes in as untitled. That doesn't tell me anything about your story. And
people do that?
Yeah,
ooh, that's ballsy. The
Agents.
agent likes it.
Number 11. You need an agent who will make heads roll.
False. You need an agent who's effective, and adversarial is not always the answer. We all are colleagues, and we like each other, and it's fun to work with each other, and we're all looking at the end goal, which is the best book for you.
I think the fact that we're all here recording this vlog together actually goes a long way to show that editors and agents have working relationships, and that's an important part of what we do every day.
And tying into number 12, your agent, quote-unquote, protects you from your publisher.
False.
This one just makes me sad, because in the best case scenario, our goal is shared to sell lots of copies of your book. They don't stay in business if they don't do that, and you don't make any money if they don't do that. So it's really, everyone wants the same thing. And the agent's job should really just be about looking out for the author's interests and helping that team work together smoothly, more than trying to, wring that extra little bit out of the publisher or giving them what for. We're not enemies, we're part of a team, and it doesn't work if we're facing off against each other.
True.
Number 13. Editors and agents are just looking for reasons to reject.
Sorta. Based on the numbers, we know that most things that we look at are probably going to be no's. So you do sort of have to go in thinking that most things won't be yeses. However, we all live for the day when we find a thing that's a yes. We want it to be a yes. We're hoping it will be a yes.
That's what we want to do. We want to call someone and say, yes, we love your book.
Number 14. Editors only buy what's hot.
Nope. We buy what's good. Speaking to a trend is great if you're doing it well, but the great part is more important than the trend part.
It's also really important that sometimes a book can start out small and then do this amazing magical thing where it gains more and more traction and more love and more attention. So that can happen too, and usually that happens because an editor buys something that he or she's really passionate about, not because it was something hot. And that's sometimes how new trends even get started.
And sometimes those ones that might not be hot are the ones that get shiny gold stickers on them.
Yes, and everyone wants a shiny gold sticker.
And sometimes they're the ones that last forever and ever, whereas the really hot things come and go really quickly, and a year later you can't find them on the shelves.
Yeah, trends really are cyclical. So even if you hit today's hot trend, who's to say that in the 2 years it takes to get to market, that will still be the hot thing. So you really just have to write the book you believe in.
I think that it's important to know that we're always looking for the thing that surprises us. And whether that's a twist on something we've seen or something we've never seen before, we want something that feels really fresh.